In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the rear wheel and hub bearing assembly on this Volkswagen Tiguan. This is going to be located behind the rear wheels. Let's get into it. In the back, behind this cover, just twist to the left, pop that out. You can see where this is held down. We're just going to pop this holder off, pull the jack out. There's a utility bag right here. Open up the utility bag. And you want to find this pick. We're going to use that. Take the hook tool. We're going to remove these caps. Just go in the center, grab the cap, pull it out. Using a 17mm socket, take the lug bolts out. Before I take the last one off, I'm just going to hold the wheel so it doesn't fall. And just grab the wheel and pull it off. We're going to take this axle nut off. You're going to have to use a 12.30mm socket. Off. We're going to take these bolts out. I'm just going to use a piece of plastic just to prevent from messing up the CV boot. And we're going to use a triple square socket. This is a M8 socket. I'll take these bolts out. Out. Pull that out. And there's this washer thing, this washer connector as well. Last one. And take those out. Now I'm just going to give a tap right here with a punch just to separate it from the differential. All the bolts are out. There we go. It's loose. And just rock this up. Under the lower control arm, I'm just going to raise up with a pole jack. It's just going to give me a little more room. As the control arm goes up, the axle goes out. And just get it past the differential. And we're going to take the upper control arm bolt out. I'm going to use a 21mm socket and a 21mm wrench on the nut. Take the nut off. Before we pull that bolt out, we'll just disconnect the connector for the ABS sensor. Just use a straight blade screwdriver. Just push on the tab. Slide that out. We can pull the bolt out. And that's just going to slide forward a little bit. Now we can grab the axle, we're going to slide it up, and then it'll come down. And we should be able to slide it back. Just pull the axle out. If you have to, you can tap it from the front. I'm going to tap it from the front. There we go. You can just use a punch. And there it is. We're going to take off the caliper bolts, use a triple square socket. It's a M14. Take that bolt out. And do the same for the top bolt. And grab the caliper, slide it off the rotor. I'm just going to use a brake caliper hanger, and just find an area to hang it from. That's out of the way. Using a T30 socket, take this screw out. Grab the rotor, slide that off. If it's not coming off that easily, just give it a tap with a hammer just on the surface right there. It should pop off. We're going to take the wheel speed sensor out just so it doesn't break. Use a T30 socket. Take the screw out. Just grab the sensor, give it a wiggle, and pull it right out. Now we're going to take the hub bearing bolts out. You're going to use a triple square socket. This is a M12 socket. And take those bolts out. And using a hammer, just give it a tap from the back side. Starting to come out. And pull that out. I'm just going to use a wire brush and just clean up this area. I'm just going to use a little thin coat of anti-seize on here. Now take the hub assembly, get that lined up. Make sure the bolt holes line up. If it's not lined up, you're going to have to spin it 180 degrees. And take the bolts from the back side, get those started. And you want to be using new bolts for this. Right, let me tighten those up. Now we're going to torque these to 52 foot-pounds. And then you have to go an additional 90 degrees. I'm going to do the 90 degrees after all the bolts have been torqued to 52. That's all 52, now 90 degrees. If you don't have a torque angle meter, just do the best you can. It's 90 degrees. I'm just going to spray this with a little anti-seize just to prevent corrosion in the future. Put the rotor up. Line that up with the threaded hole right there. And snug it up. Not too tight. Take the caliper hanger off. Bring the caliper over. Slide that over the rotor. Put the new bolts in. Get those started. I'll tighten those down. Then we'll torque these bolts to 66 foot-pounds and then an additional 90 degrees. And then 90 degrees. Do the same for the top one. Install the wheel speed sensor. Get that lined up, push that in, take the bolt, get that started. Snug that down. Slide the axle in. Get that in the hub and just push it in. Go up and come back down. Get that lined up with the rear differential. That's good. And we'll get one of these bolts started. With those washers or spacers that go around the bolts. Get those lined up. All right, that can be in there loose, that's fine. Now I'm going to take the bolt. There is two washers. This one right here goes in between. So you put the bolt through the knuckle, then that washer goes before it goes through the control arm. And then this one's going to go on the other side of the control arm. So let's put that through. Get the washer on. Push this in place. And just slide that bolt in. On the other side of the bolt, before we put the nut on, we're going to put this washer on. And put the nut on. Get that started. Snug that down. Now you want to raise the suspension to ride height as close as possible. Just raise up with the pull jack. That's good. Just be safe. And we'll tighten this down. With a new bolt, you want to torque this to 95 foot-pounds and then an additional 90 degrees. I'll connect the wheel speed sensor. Lock that down. Now we're just going to turn the axle so we can get the other bolts started. Take the bolts and that spacer. Just be careful of the boot. Get those started. And turn it again. And now I'm going to put that plastic in there just to protect the boot. Snug these down. I'm going to go across to the opposite side and snug it so it tightens it down evenly. So we're just going to spin this. So it's the opposite side. And I'll tighten this one down. All right. Now we can just go around and tighten the rest of them. And we're going to torque this to 30 foot-pounds. And spin around, do the same for the others. Double check this one, and that's it. They're all torqued. Now we can lower the pole jack. And take that out of the way. I'm going to take the bolt, and we'll tighten this down. This happens to be a hex bolt, or you're going to use a hex socket for this one. This is a H17. Snug that down. Now we're going to torque it. I'm just going to take two of the studs, get those started. The lug studs. And just using a pry bar. This is going to prevent the hub from spinning. I'm just going to tighten this down a little bit and just spin the hub. Just go around. And we're going to torque this to 147 foot-pounds. And then you want to go on additional 180 degrees. All right. There you go. And take those studs out. Now install the wheel. Line up the holes. Take the lug bolt, get that started. And put the other ones on. Snug those down. Now we're going to torque the lug bolts to 89 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Go around again, double check. Take the caps, get those lined up, and push those on. Take the pick tool, put that back in the utility bag. We'll wrap this up. And just tie it up. Place that back inside here. I'll take the jack. Get that lined up. This little tie down. Just pull that through. Take the door, slide the two little tabs in the base, and then twist it closed. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.